All right, hey guys, Jason here. We are just got done hunting, and we're going to talk today about the real expectations of your shots when you're hunting, with a traditional bow especially. So let's put this into perspective here, because a perfect example today, I'm out here. It was one of these quick hunts. I'm 2.5 hours from my house. I drive out here. It takes 2.5 hours to get here. I have an hour and a half to hunt. And then I got to drive 2.5 hours back. That's 5 hours on the road for an hour and a half of hunting. But it's getting down to the wire. 2 days left of the WMA seasons, and so I'm crunched for time and hunt whenever I can. And nothing around me right now has hogs on it. Hogs are they're mobile, and the WMAs that are close to me, there's nothing on them, and then the other ones are closed. So it's one of those kind of deals. But so tonight I end up getting into a hog and stare down. Right there, like this, staring down. He's right there. He's like 12 yards away behind a bush. It's like, okay, come on, make your mind up. And I'm not wearing bug spray, and there are mosquitoes just drilling me every single place there is, every place. And he turned, it went on for a solid minute and a half. And then finally he turns and he starts, I can see him behind a stick bush, and then he pops out and he starts to go. I start to draw. As soon as I start to draw, he kind of realizes, and he starts to move a little quicker. I come to full draw. I'm swinging with him, and with my new shooting style, it worked perfectly, because I came in, I hit anchor, and I told myself, I'm like, okay, hit the point. And I hit the point. I put that arrow right on there. Boom. About a 14-yard shot. Crack. And that arrow goes. The arrow hits, and he takes 2 steps, and the arrow falls to the ground. With the GoPro on, I knew exactly what happened. I walk straight over to it. I walk right over to the arrow. I pick it up. Not a speck of blood on it, nothing. We went right into the shoulder blade. Okay, so what my eyes saw anyway when it happened. I haven't looked at the slow motion. But reality of your shots, okay? We hear this all the time. Will it pass through? People ask questions all the time. Will this bow weight pass through animals? I watched my daughter put an arrow through a 500 and something pound hog with a 24-inch draw and a 27-pound bow, and she blew it right through that animal. Done, gone. Yet on the same note, I have shot in the shoulder on fawns, whitetail fawns, little deer, yearlings, and had them stop that arrow cold. So there's a reality to this that you got to understand, that no 2 shot sequences are alike. Now, had that hog that I shot been standing still, would I have got through that shoulder? Possibly, but maybe not. It was a pretty good sized boar hog, so most likely not. They got a lot of shield and a lot of stuff on there, and most likely could have possibly not got through there. However, also, he was moving. And he wasn't moving, he wasn't running, but he wasn't moving slow either. I mean, he was there, but it was so close that I had that, and it put it right there. But that movement robs your arrow of momentum. So we got to put this into perspective. And what made that was just a little bonus that happened tonight. Now that hog's fine, nothing, not even, he just got a little scratch on his shoulder. But on the way here, I was talking to Donnie Wilkerson, Creekwater Kirk Trading, and we were talking about arrow penetration, and we were talking about things like that while I was driving here. There's a reality to so many of the variables that come into play, whether you are going to pass through an animal, you're going to get stopped, or you're going to get one lung, things of that nature. And put things into perspective. When I shot a 79-pound recurve with wood arrows, I barely passed through animals. Not very often. Okay, we're going back 25 years ago. Barely did I pass through animals. Shooting a 57-pound longbow with 720 grain arrows with 450 feet grains up front, I passed through most of them. Not all of them. I've even hit deer right behind the shoulder and had it not hit the opposite shoulder, but not pass through. You name it, it has happened. I have seen arrows pass through completely. I have also, when it comes to shoulder blades, I have passed through 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10, I don't. It depends on if you hit the paddle square, or if you hit the paddle where it's got that big T, you're not going through there. I don't care what you're shooting. Any kind of bow, I don't care what you're shooting, even crossbow, you're not getting through the T part of that T-bone on there. Okay, these are the realities of these things. So you have to take this stuff with a grain of salt. What you're looking for is you are looking for an exit hole. That's all that matters. There are people that will say that it's better for the arrow, zip, zip, go right through them, and the arrow flies right through, and then the arrow, or the deer is just like, whoa, what happened? He doesn't even know what's going on because it flew right through him. And it's true. I have shot deer before where I come in, and the arrow goes through, and that deer just kind of hops and looks around and stands there for a second. He's like, what's going on? what the heck is going on? He's like looking, listening. In the meantime, he's just flowing out of both sides, just pouring out. Like, what? Whoa, what's going on? And that's it. And they go down right there. I've had that happen many times. Other people feel that they want the arrow to stay in. So when the arrow stays in, they run off. That arrow's working in there and doing damage. That works too. Okay, but they're usually running hard. If the arrow stays in, they run pretty hard, and they're going to run hard. Now, if the arrow goes in and comes out the other side, so it's sticking out, usually he will, within 10 or 15 yards, pull that arrow out on whatever he bumps into, yanks it out, he'll calm back down again in a few minutes. He doesn't know what the heck's going on, but he knows that it's over. There's nothing in him anymore. The danger is over. See, what I'm getting at here is none of it matters. None of it matters at all. You can shoot a 80-pound bow and not get pass-throughs. You can shoot a 40-pound bow and get pass-throughs. And the whole shot placement is everything BS stuff, I don't even want to hear it. Now, if you go back 5 years ago, I'd have agreed with you. Shot placement is everything. I always put it in there. Shot placement is everything. I got a GoPro running on my head for over 100 animals. I'm telling you right now, shot placement, what you think is shot placement is luck. That's what it is. No offense to it. Animals are moving so much, so often, and you think he's there, and you shoot, and you're like, oh, I nailed him. That was perfect. But then if you watch the slow motion, you were this high or this low, and he dropped down into that shot. Or you pulled it forward, and at the very last minute, right before your arrow hits, he hears it, and he lunges. That kind of thing happens all the time. Or he'll even go backwards. He'll lunge back, getting ready to spring to jump, but that movement back just moved him. You were off that far, but now you got a perfect shot. Or what you thought was going to be perfect, and you shoot, and you're like, oh, I blew right through him. But then you get there and the arrow's completely clean. How did that happen? I was going right for him because he dropped down and your arrow's going, and that deer's here, and here comes your arrow, and at the last minute he drops, and then he goes down, he comes right back up. Your eye, it happened so fast that your eye just seen a deer and it seen the arrow go through the deer. The deer actually dropped out and came back, and that's what you didn't see it. Again, it's amazing at the speed these animals can move. So shot placement, irrelevant. They're always moving. Now, it does matter. You do your best, and we get that and understand that, but believe me, there's so many variables that it's beyond it. I would not even go as far, I would not go as far to say that your accuracy doesn't matter, because it does. But I'm here to tell you that with 100 shots on video shown in my Patreon course, you guys can go there and watch every vlog and see the slow motion of every one of them. Every deer and hog is moving. Every deer and hog is moving. The big buck that I shot this year in a Midwest trip, he dropped. He did not start moving on an 18-yard shot till that arrow was almost halfway there. He dropped to the point that his belly was almost on the ground, and he was on a 45-degree angle sideways lunging away when that arrow actually got to him. Let the reality of that sink in. And this was a big buck, you know, the kind that are not supposed to jump the string. So we don't have that working for us as far as your shot placement. You can't use that excuse. You can build what, like Ranch Fairy calls Plan B arrows. And I'm a huge proponent of heavy arrows. They're one of the best things you can possibly have is a heavy arrow. I shoot a 720 grain arrow, and I do that on purpose because I straight up love it. And the energy is there, the power is there, and I like it. Some people say, well, that's too slow. You should shoot a faster arrow. Maybe you can get there before the animal jumps. There might be something to that, but in a traditional bow, it makes no difference. I don't care if you're shooting 500 grains or shooting 700 grains. It's not fast enough to matter. Other people say, well, a quieter bow, and I do believe that. I do believe a quieter bow, but more importantly than even a quieter bow, because when your bow goes off over there at 15 yards, that's a noise over there up in a tree for most of you guys, unless you're hog hunting on the ground, but most of the guys are in a tree. That's a noise over there. It may not bother them, but the arrow coming at them, they hear that. Okay, and that's going to take 1 second or so for they get there. And their reaction time, not only is their process time 4 times faster than ours is, their brain processing power, their vision removes 4 times faster, and their reaction time is 4 times faster. So that's literally like 12 times faster than we can react to something. So they hear that arrow coming at them. It's getting closer. And they know, and that freaks them out. So you should shoot quiet arrows. Make sure your arrows are quiet. How do you do that? Test them. How do you test them? you can put up a microphone or a camera. The best way to do it, though, what I think is honestly, is take your target, your block target or whatever, and go out there and find yourself a massive tree or a building, some square or cement building, something that is definitely never going to get an arrow to go through it. Put a target over there beyond it, and then have somebody stand behind that tree where you know there's no possible way that you could ever hit him. And you talk to him and tell him, stay there. Here comes arrow 1, and then you shoot. Let them, and then you shoot arrow 2. Then you shoot arrow 3. And you're like, okay, which arrow was best? You're like, arrow 2. Arrow 2 was definitely quieter. Okay, now you got something to work with. Try it again. Try trimming them down a little bit with scissors. You already got the helical and stuff. Try playing with it and see what works and changing things a little bit until it gets nice and quiet. When it does, that's your best bet. It will never be silent, but the quieter it is, the better. That stuff matters. But when it comes to your bow weight, I don't mean to go down so many rabbit holes, but your bow weight really doesn't have a whole lot to do with it. It really doesn't. Like I said, I know that from firsthand experience. And there are people out there that will argue that. They will say a 3-to-1 ratio head. Now keep in mind that almost every single animal I've shot, with the exception of 10 in the beginning, have been done with a 1.5-inch wide broadhead. That is a big wide broadhead. Some people will say that if you're shooting like a meathead or something, it's a 3-to-1 ratio head, you're going to get through there. And that may be true. You might get through the shoulder blade. But I also know people that will get through the shoulder blade, but they will not get too far enough in to get through 2 lungs, or even they might barely poke a lung. They get through the shoulder blade enough into the body cavity, the arrow gets snapped off, and the broadhead's barely there, and it scratches 1 lung enough to kill that deer, but you'll never find it. So these kind of things are a reality. These things happen. So there's always a catch and a trade-off. I'm not saying a 3-to-1 ratio head is bad and it will help your penetration. I'm just saying I prefer a wider broadhead because a bigger hole makes bigger blood trails. There's even a catch-22 to that. The bigger the hole gets, the more crap can fall out of it, clogging the hole. But that can happen with any of them. So like I said, there is no right or wrong here. There is no premium bow weight that's going to do it all for you. There is nothing wrong with shooting lighter weight bows. There's nothing wrong with shooting heavier weight bows. There's no advantage to either one of them, I promise you. And now a heavier bow is obviously going to give you a little better odds. Realistically, I get that. I understand it. But in the grand scheme of things, like I said, I mean, you got people out there. I mean, I've watched Steve Turre. I watched him with his 86-pound bow shoot a spike and not pass through it, and I've also seen him shoot a 3 or 4 point in Missouri and not get through the shoulder blade. 86 pounds. Okay, again, you got to take into account the momentum of the animal. Like I told you, with that yearling that stopped my arrow, a small deer does not have the body mass. And when he gets hit with all that energy and momentum coming in, if it hits bone, his body's going to roll. That body roll absorbs all the energy, just like somebody whipping. If you hold your hand hard like this and somebody throws a baseball at it, you try to catch it, your whole arm is going to hurt like crazy. But when he throws a ball at you and you catch it, boom, and you bring your hand back like that, this takes all the energy out of that ball. That's how people can catch them at a hard ball that gets hit from, at a baseball field and comes in, and they can just reach up and catch it by hand or catch it by hand. That energy absorbs it. Same thing happens with an animal. Now you take a big old black bear, stout, strong, wide shoulders, hard, he doesn't move much. You zip through black bears all day long. Boom, 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 boom. Never a care in the world, just everything. Boom, zips right through a black bear. Why? They don't have any body roll. They're not moving. All the energy of the arrow stays in the energy of the arrow and transfers right through the target. There is no loss of that through body roll and momentum. All of these things matter. Every part of this matters. Everything that we're talking about matters. But it all means the same thing. It doesn't matter. So shoot the weight bow that you can handle, that you are comfortable with. Set the arrows up like you want for whatever it is you're looking for, penetration, blood trails, whatever you're trying to do, and just go out there and hunt stuff. Don't overthink it. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't chase the optimal something like you're going to gain a little bit here. Now, the Ashby reports, I believe in them 100%. Love the Ashby reports. I love everything that natal study did. I love everything that we learned in there, and I'm a huge proponent. I do prefer to shoot a heavyweight arrow. I'm not so concerned with bow weight as I am arrow mass. But I'm also not concerned with a narrow broadhead in that penetration. I'd rather have a bigger broadhead for more blood trails, and I still often, unless I hit a shoulder blade, I blow right through the animals. Even if they're moving and they rob me of that momentum, I still get that exit side out of there. So I'm okay with this. So this is just a lot of things to put into perspective and think about, but the reality is there is no one answer. There is no one answer. There's only what works for you and what you like and that kind of thing, and they all do the same thing. You got to understand that. So hopefully it puts it into perspective, doesn't confuse you too much, and obviously I know it doesn't answer any questions that you have other than the fact that your questions are good, but there is no answer to your question, which is what's the best arrow setup, what's the best bow weight. There is really no answer to it. There just isn't. It can go six or half dozen. It doesn't make any difference. So hope you enjoyed the video. Any questions, comments, put them below. Thanks for watching.